I am thrilled to be starting the 4th episode of Coffee with Bill. These episodes, we get to speak to amazing humans running small and mid-sized businesses who are doing fantastic things. And we get to learn from them their stories of resilience, of innovation, of creativity. And today is going to be no different. I am thrilled to be able to be joined in person by the co-founders of Glamnetic, Anne McFerran and Kevin Gould. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I am thrilled to get to have this conversation in person. And while I know about Glamnetic and your amazing rocket ship, for those folks who maybe don't know, what's your elevator pitch about Glamnetic?
Your beauty routine probably takes far too long, and that's a pain point in, I would say, most women's lives. And I'm here to streamline the process with Glamnetic. So we created shortcuts for you to be able to get salon quality nails and lashes at the convenience of your home. So you could take your power back and get the time back that you normally would spend at the salon and do it yourself.
As you think about the growth trajectory that you've had at Glamnetic, and I'll point this one at you, there are always bumps in the road. There are always moments when it's that kind of make or break. Are there any, when I frame that up, are there any that are top of mind for you that maybe other folks can learn from?
Absolutely. Oh, we have so many. I mean, I think to your point, I think being an entrepreneur and starting a company, there's a lot of ups and downs along the way. Obviously, all the bumps in the road ultimately make you stronger. I think for us, one of the ones that comes to mind is back in 2021, we were, I think at that time, pretty much almost all a D2C business and not very into retail yet. And a big advertising update happened with iOS that for, I think not only us, but a lot of D2C brands at the time, it definitely wreaked havoc from a marketing and advertising perspective. And so I think for us and the team, it was a year of just being in the trenches, really rethinking the way we marketed the business. And so at points, it got extremely tough. Over the time period, we actually ended up expanding farther into Ulta and Sephora, and we have a number of amazing retail partners now. So we're now more of an omni-channel business. But when you're in those kind of like bottom points, it can feel tough. And so I'd say for us, that was one that really was a tough moment. And ultimately, we redefined the company from it and came out stronger.
But I know one of the things that is amazing that you guys have built is this whole community that is outside your walls and, being your champion and your voice. Can you tell us a little bit about the Glam Fam and maybe the moments that were, sort of organic about that creation of the Glam Fam?
Yeah. So the Glam Fam actually got built kind of accidentally because I was a one-woman show in Glamnetic for a while, just kind of doing all the product development and customer service. And so I got to know the customer on a really deep level because I was actually messaging them on Instagram. And actually one of the few ways that we got customers in the very beginning of Glamnetic and how we got our initial revenue was I would DM all of our followers on Glamnetic because we weren't really running ads at the time. And so there was no really good way to get the word out. And so I would actually reach out to every follower and then be like, hey, I'm the founder. Do you have any questions about the product? And then it turned into a whole conversation. And then a lot of people actually ended up purchasing because I would make them a custom discount code on Shopify with their name on it. And it would have an expiration date. And I'd be like, okay, please use the discount code. And a lot of them would because it felt catered to. So it's kind of like sales. And then from there, I kind of found another channel, which was Facebook groups. And I started a Facebook group and funneled them into there. And then all the customers would start chatting with each other and talk about the product and, give tips and tricks on the products. And I would also discover new tips and tricks on there as well. And then a funny thing that they would also do was they would take our bubble mailer, which is really this shiny bubble mailer, and they would turn it into various things. They would upcycle it. So they would actually turn it into a bag. I had a whole girl start a purse brand out of our upcycled Glamnetic mailers. And she was like, is it okay if I start this brand with your brand? And I'm like, I guess, yeah. I'm like, if you're upcycling, that's great.
Yeah.
They made Christmas trees, even underwear. It was the craziest thing.
It was wild.
It was the craziest thing. So like we have moments like that where I was like, wow, people really love, the product organically that they're willing to do this.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think the amazing thing about the Glam Fam too is, I think to Anne's point, like she kicked off and like really spearheaded the community, but then a really interesting thing happens, and the community builds the community together. And so now we have a ton of advocates in our Glam Fam that I feel like they know about stuff before we do a lot of times, which is an incredible thing to see as a brand. And I think the thing we also tell the team a lot is you kind of have to scale the unscalable to build community. So like a good example is we were on a flight up from LA yesterday, and I personally do this every time, and I know Anne does too. Whenever we're on a plane and we see a flight attendant, we're like, hey, like what type of nails do you wear? And then we actually give them nails, because for us, flight attendants are amazing advocates because they sit on a flight with a different flight attendant every flight almost, and they probably word of mouth is a really powerful thing. And so that's just like one example of kind of like scaling the unscalable, but over a long period of time that really builds the community.
On the way here, we gave it to the pilot, actually.
Lots of times unexpected things happen with customers. Were there any other unexpected things that got tons of traction with customers?
I think one of the things that we knew that our nail glue was really strong, but I think it became sort of a viral moment on TikTok where there was like a lot of people talking about how strong our nail glue, to the point where they're like, I can't remove these. Can you guys please help me remove them? So we came out with a remover that is specifically designed to like remove it. It's actually so strong that it cannot, melt the press-on nail off, but it's like non-toxic to your hands. And so that was like, that came out of a need, but it was a viral moment for a while because everyone was like, oh my God, I can't take these off. Please help.
I remember another good one. This is early on. And I think when we had lashes, and I don't even think we had nails yet. One customer took a outdoor blow, like a leaf blower.
Oh yeah.
And she filmed a TikTok with the leaf blower with their lashes on. And the lashes like didn't come off, and that turned into this like amazing, viral TikTok.
People really come up with funny content.
It continues to amaze me the ways that customers figure out how to use our products.
I love it. And sometimes, I think our jobs are to provide just a little hint of something. Like you do it through your product, just a little hint of something, and then they sort of take off from there.
100%. I think one thing, going back to your point too, on like having a pulse on the business, if you don't have a pulse, what makes it really hard is when you're actively listening to customers, you hear a lot of different things from customers, and there's very individualized feedback. But if you don't have a pulse, you're not going to be able to take the 80% that you're hearing from everyone and then apply that into the business. And then the other 20% is great feedback, but it might be more specific to the individual. And so you have to be able to not only actively listen, but continue to have a pulse to actually turn that into decision making.
So you guys have amazing presence in huge retailers, Sephora, Ulta, Nordstrom. Congratulations. I know that those moments of growth are probably equal parts exciting and scary. Can you talk a little bit about how you've thought about the retail partnerships and maybe how you think about growth in general?
Yeah. I guess to take a step back on growth. So I think like companies, we were talking a little bit earlier, but companies go in phases, right? And in the beginning, you're just trying to hustle and get this thing started. So that was like Anne in an apartment hustling, doing photography, creative, everything, right? And then you kind of like graduate up and we start scaling a little bit. You bring on other team members and you have to figure out, how do you work as a team now? And for the first couple of years, it's really hard to project what you're going to do because you haven't done anything before. And I feel like we're 5 years in now, and now we've at least had a few years where we've been able to reflect back, and now we have a little bit more of a forward view on where we're growing. So now we can put more of like a forward-looking strategic plan in place that's grounded in data and numbers. But in the beginning, it was all hustle. So I think there's like a phase of growth. And so for us now, we try to like make sure we tie everything to what's the bigger picture and where we're going, and then execute on that on a quarterly and then yearly basis. And then maybe you can touch on a little bit how we think about like our retail side.
Yeah, what's really funny about the retail side, how it all started, we weren't necessarily ready for it, but Ulta cold emailed us and it got lost in the inbox. We didn't see it. We didn't see it for like months. And then somebody in customer service is like, wait, is this from Ulta? We're like, what? That's crazy. It was like, I think a year and a half into the brand. And we had barely just like started building the infrastructure. We're like, oh my God, I think we're, we have to take a big step forward before we're necessarily ready. But I think that was like the most exciting unlock for us because Ulta now is like our most major partner. But yeah, I think we want to be, in all places. We realize how important it is to meet the customer right where they're at, like physically. And we now have so much discovery of Glamnetic just through Ulta. Before it used to be all online on D2C. And now we're seeing like a pretty good like 50-50 mix of that.
Even though you may not feel ready, like do the thing. What advice would you give?
Yeah, I think that's the advice I like to give to all my friends who are thinking about starting a business, but they're scared to, is like, you have to take the first step before you're ready. That's just how life works. You're never going to be in a place where mentally you're like, okay, now I'm ready. It's just like, there's always going to be, people are afraid of the unknown. I think I found like that's human nature. And so to avoid it, it's very easy to just stay in what's comfortable and what you're currently doing, but you're never going to progress and move forward and elevate in your life if you don't do it. And so I think a key part of that was moving from like me sending Venmo, PayPal payments to like then going to Bill.com where everything is tracked and neatly organized.
So obviously we talk a lot about financial automation, and I'm curious, and maybe Kevin, if you want to start, what role has financial automation played in your growth journey at Glamnetic?
Absolutely. I think going back to the evolution of the business, in the beginning, you're just trying to hustle to get everything going, and we're Venmoing and PayPaling people and giving people cash on the side. It's just that's the start of every business. But as you grow, things get a lot more complex and complicated. And so I think having automation, particularly around something as important as your finances, is extremely important. And we would have not got to where we were today without having strong automation software. And I think in this case, it's Bill. So
love it. Love it. And, maybe, and Anne, if you want to take this one, like what's next for Glamnetic?
Yeah, I think we just want to continue to double down on what's working, which for us is the press-on-nail category, which is quickly growing right now. I know a lot of people are starting to see this transition from salons to DIY. I think because really COVID sped this whole process up of people really taking charge of their own beauty routine instead of being dependent on an external person to do it. And so really seeing this shift, and we want to be in the forefront of that and come out with like the most innovative, on-trend designs and keep our customers happy.
I think we're also just in the infancy of what we're doing. We're 5 or 6 years in now, but it feels like, at least I think for both of us, it feels like we're just getting started, and there's so much runway and so much to look forward to. And so I think we're excited to see what the next few years hold.
And Kevin, thank you so much for being here. It has been an absolute pleasure to get to learn from your experiences and hear your tales of great success. And I'm super excited for all that's ahead for Glamnetic. So thank you for being here. And for all of you watching, I hope you enjoyed it.